Welcome, brave souls, to the chilling depths of horror in detail. Today we are going to share Dogman encounter horror stories. First story. Dogs don't walk like that. One night my wife and I were headed home from a friend's house who lives in our same neighborhood. Small get-together. We said our goodbyes around 1 a.m. and we got in the car to drive the couple of blocks back home. Street lights are few and far in between in our neighborhood, so what we saw next was mostly by the light of my wife's headlights, but clear enough to leave us confused and awestruck. As we turn on our street, we both see something crossing road, maybe 10 yards ahead. An animal/creature that would have been bigger than a large dog, but smaller than a bear. It had pitch black fur, so dark it contrasted an already dark background. The most disturbing detail was its gait/trot. The only way I can describe its movement is by saying it moved the way a bipedal being would move if forced to walk on all fours. But it moved quickly, athletically even. The creature darts across the street from the side where our house is to the opposite side. We live in the suburbs. Each house is surrounded by connected fences. There are no gaps in between them. The fences are at least 6 feet tall. When we pulled up to our house and looked across the street, the animal was nowhere to be found. The only thing I could think was that it would have had to clear a 6-foot fence to get away or have the dexterity/intelligence to open the gate on the side of my neighbor's house, which is normally locked. We just sat there and both asked each other if we had seen the same thing. I haven't seen anything like it since. I listened to a podcast recently where the co-host mentioned an eerily similar animal, down to the weird bipedal on all fours movement, and said he believes it was a skinwalker. Has anybody encountered anything similar? Second story. Wolf who walked like a human. This happened a few years back. I was visiting the U.S. because my cousin was graduating from college. I don't want to say where exactly, but this happened in the state of Arizona. I promised that I would arrive a night before his graduation to help him put the house in party condition. I arrived on a pretty late flight, and I didn't have my own car, so my cousin came to pick me up from the airport. It was about 2 a.m., and we were driving on a long road that was basically in the middle of nowhere. I was about to fall asleep, but my cousin woke me up and said that there was a wolf right in front of us next to the road. I had never seen a wolf in the wild before, so it was a little exciting. Just when we were about to drive past him, he stood up and started running with only 2 feet. He was running right next to our car for about 5 seconds, and when we looked at him again, he looked like a human who was wearing animal fur on his upper body. After telling this story to others, they told me that we saw a skinwalker. What do you guys think? Has anyone else experienced something like this? Third story. Weird creatures spotted in Minnesota. Hello, everyone. I'm reaching out because of an event that happened last night. I need help figuring out what my mother and I saw. I moved to Minnesota about 6 months ago. It's a pretty cold state. More or less, I love it here. It's very peaceful, and when it snows, it's really beautiful. However, my image of Minnesota was changed last night. Me, my mom, and my stepfather were all sitting down watching a movie in the living room. As the movie was about to end, we paused it because my mom wanted to go smoke, and I had to use the restroom. Once I'm back from using the restroom, I go and sit down with my stepdad. A few seconds later, my mom opens the patio door and yells for us to get out there. We rush outside, and she tells us that she started hearing the noise of something big walking in the snow. When she started to look around for where the noise was coming from, about 40 feet away was a white trailer. She said that when she looked over there, she saw something with red eyes staring at her. She said that it looked like a really big dog. At first, my stepdad said that it was probably a coyote. Then I started to think on how my mom heard a coyote walking in the snow 40 or 50 feet away. I realized that it had to have been something very big. I've always been one to believe in paranormal things. My mother, not so much. We look around for a bit longer, then we go back inside. A few hours later, I leave my room to go grab a soda so I can continue playing Halo. After the whole event, I've had this unshakable feeling. So I decided to just look outside to reassure myself that she was seeing things. As my eyes scan the edge of the woods, I don't really see anything. I take a deep breath and I grab the soda and close the fridge. As I close the door, I glimpse out the window and freeze. Sure enough, I see a pair of red eyes peering at me through the trees. I couldn't see much because of how dark it was. It was around 3 a.m., but I know what I saw. I saw something that I've never seen before. Those red eyes went right through me. Then as quick as I had seen them, they disappear. What did I see? Fourth story, Dogman or werewolf. I recently seen a post on Facebook of a journalist talking about two boys who seen a creature in the county next to the one my family lives in. It got me thinking about a story that happened to my aunt before I was born. My aunt had told me, and anyone that asked this story, and no matter what, her story never changed ever. She stood on what she saw was real, even if no one believed her. One night, she and her boyfriend were driving down the road and were coming up on a railroad track. When they got closer, they saw an 8-foot-tall creature standing on the side of the road. I always remembered her saying it had glowing eyes. Weirdly enough, she always thought it had kind of smirked at her when they drove past. It didn't chase them, try and do anything. It just stood there staring and watching them as they drove past. She had always described it as looking just like the werewolf from Van Helsing. This was before she married my uncle, and I think that experience of hers brought them closer because he had an experience of his own as a child. When he was a kid, he was walking home. At this time, he lived in the country. I'm talking maybe 200 ppl live in this area. I also used to live here, just so you can get an idea of how he felt being the only person outside at this time. He also saw an 8-foot-tall creature that scared him to death. He ran all the way home and busted through the door. He told my grandma what he had saw, and I'm not sure if my grandma believed him or not at the time. I asked her when I got older, and she said he was so terrified that whether she saw it or not, he still saw something that scared him that badly. A few years ago, my uncle started getting into listening to scary stories when he came across the Dogman. He has listened to every type of cryptid story on YouTube, and the Dogman is the only one he wholeheartedly believes is true. Fifth story, there is something in my forest. For context, I'm a 27-year-old woman. My boyfriend and I were able to purchase 15 acres of land this year, right next to a national forest in the Carolinas. It has always been my dream to live in a forest on a mountain, and we were so excited when we found the land. It was priced so low and is a 5-minute drive from the lake, so we of course grabbed it up as fast as we could get the loan approved. We put a small mobile home in the middle of the property where we currently live while we have our home built about 3 acres away. There isn't much built now, just a cement slab and a few metal beams and roof. It's going to be a barn dominium. Now onto the story. We moved onto the land in late May, and everything seemed great. A few weeks ago, I started taking my 2 dogs out for walks around the forest to check where the property lines were and also just to enjoy the scenery, as it truly is beautiful. We got to where the property line ended and the national forest began, and I wanted to go further in as I knew there was a trail you could take nearby that leads to the top of the mountain and a rest area where I planned to call my boyfriend and have him come get me and the dogs. The actual hike itself might take about 1.5 hours, and there's a road the rangers take to get to the top that he could drive up. We were about halfway to the trail, or so I thought, when my German Shepherd Crush takes off into the woods barking. He's usually very well trained and comes when called, but he was hell-bent on chasing something. Luckily, my other dog isn't as excitable, and she stayed by me. We went deeper into the forest looking for my dog when I heard what I thought was a wild boar. If you have never heard a boar, imagine what you assume a demon crawling out of hell sounds like, and that's pretty much it. I got nervous as I know a boar could easily gut my dog with their tusk and started yelling out for Crush to come. I could hear him barking angrily, and we made our way to where the sound were coming from. I found him looking up, barking and snarling near a large tree, and tried to pull him away. He wouldn't budge. I had to literally pick up this 80-pound dog and shuffle carry him about 100 feet away where I set him down. My other dog stayed by the tree whining, her tail in between her legs. I called for her to come to me, and she did a 180 and took off in the other direction. I looked up in the tree, but couldn't really see much, so I just chalked it up to one big-ass raccoon. It took about 2 hours, but I was finally back on my land with the dogs. I told my boyfriend about it when we got home, and he recommended not taking them out too far without leashes as to avoid this again. When I asked him what he thought it was, he agreed either a possum or raccoon, but I told him it didn't explain the boar's sound. He just said, "It's the woods, there's a lot of animals," and left it at that. A few days later, I was working from home when my dogs started going nuts. Crush started snarling and jumping up at the window. I yelled for them to stop barking, and since I had to make a call, I let the dogs out with intention to bring them back in afterwards. It took all of 10 minutes. When I opened the door, my little dog was sitting on the porch and bolted inside. Crush was gone. I stepped out and started calling for him, scanning the woods for a big furry black, but I couldn't see or hear him, so I started into the woods calling for him. I made my way to where the house is being built, and he was standing by the right-hand side of it. I called for him. He stood there frozen, ignoring me, so I walked over to him when I saw what he was staring at. It was very large and on all fours. I don't know what it was. At first, my initial thought was a manged hairless bear because of its size, but there aren't bears in that forest. I double-checked before we moved in because I was worried about the dogs getting into it with one. It also was lean, so I know it wasn't a bear as it was too thin to be one healthy enough to walk. There was fur or hair, but only on the back, and it was either dark brown or black. I couldn't see a face, but could tell it did not have an animal snout. I grabbed Crush's collar and tried to tug him towards the construction, try not to make any sudden movements. I felt the thing watching me as I led Crush into the middle of the concrete. I didn't take my eyes off it. It was about 10 yards away when I heard the boar noise again. It was coming from it. Crush started barking and jumping toward it with me attached to him via collar. I just said jerk Crush back towards me and started running back towards the mobile home. I slammed the door, locking it behind me, and grabbed my gun. I called my boyfriend a few times before he answered and started yelling at him to come home. There is something on the property. He was home in 10 minutes and took his truck over to the construction. When he got back, he said he didn't see anything. It's been a couple weeks since then, and this past weekend, I saw it again. My boyfriend had to work late, so I was home with the dogs watching TV when my little one scratched at the door to be let out to potty. Crush followed her out, and I left them to do their business. When I opened the door, little one was shaking and couldn't get in fast enough. She hid under the dining table and refused to come out. I called out for Crush and couldn't see him as he's a black dog in the woods at night. I grabbed the flashlight and walked the perimeter of the house looking for him. I saw the big furry black, but at the back of the house where the tree line began, and called for him. He didn't move. I started towards him when I heard a bark from behind me. I felt my heart and stomach drop. I wanted to cry because I knew what I was looking at, and it wasn't my dog. He was behind me. I felt this overwhelming feeling of fear and dread and anger and did something insane and stupid. I yelled at it and threw sticks. I told it to get away from us, get off my land, that I wanted to kill it. I seriously thought I was losing my mind because before I knew it, I was running towards it. I was about 5 feet away when that thing leapt up and into the woods. Its back legs were so long, I thought it was going to kick me. It smelled like earth and rot. I got a better look at the back of its body. It was borderline human looking. Long limbs, short torso. Luckily, my moment of insanity was over and my dumb ass didn't chase it into the woods. I was mildly pleased with Misleft that I got it to run away. I started heading back towards Crush and the house when I heard the boar noises again, only they weren't just behind me, but all around the woods. I told my boyfriend. He thinks I was seeing things. I called my dad, who told me to burn sage on the property and have a shaman come and bless the land as he thinks it's a skinwalker. He's Blackfoot. I don't know what to do. I bought some cables to hook the dogs to when they go outside, so they can't go too far. I carry my gun with me anytime I have to be outside. I love this property. I love the forest and the mountains. I hate that I'm afraid anytime I walk outside. Has anyone seen something like this before? Does anyone have an idea what this is and how to keep it away from us? My boyfriend doesn't go into the woods much, so I doubt if he will ever see it. So I just sound like a crazy woo-woo lady to him. 6th story. Strange creature in the woods. I had gone down to visit my friend at his college in Virginia, U.S. We had hung out on campus until like 3 a.m. and decided to go on a walk. We walked through along a path and wound up in some woods. My friend insisted that this was a shortcut back to campus. We entered the woods and walked for about half a mile, only with our phone flashlights. Just as we crested the hill, I saw something. Originally, I thought it was a white owl sitting on a brand of a rotten tree trunk. However, as we walked closer, my curiosity turned to horror, as it was clear it was not an owl. About 20 yards from us, a white face peeked around the tree. Its face looked as it was made out of old bone, slightly yellowed and cracked. Its shape was like a mix between a human's and an elk's or horse's. Its eyes were sunken and black and looked like it had charcoal dust rubbed around them. It had no mouth, no nose. I stopped and tried to get my friend to look. That's when it peered around the stump. Its long black arm pulled it around as if to get a better look at us. Its fingers were long and thin, like spider legs. It tilted its head and wrapped its other arm around the tree. I grabbed my friend's arm and sprinted in the other direction. I have searched online for weeks looking for anything that describes the creature I saw. The only thing I can compare it to is the Wendigo. However, the Wendigo is usually found farther north. If anyone has any insight, it would much be appreciated. Shit still keeps me from wandering into the woods at night. 7th story. My weird old neighbor. This happened about 4 years ago, and I swear it's 100% true. My aunt had just moved into a new apartment in a residential complex. It was summer. I had just started high school, and I went to stay with her for a while. The apartment had 2 bedrooms. My aunt had one, and I shared the other with my older cousin, who was 9 years older than me. Since the room was small, we shared a bed. Because the electrical outlets were weirdly placed, one at the head and one at the foot, we ended up sleeping in opposite directions. She slept with her head at the top of the bed. I slept with my head at the foot. Right above her head was a large window facing another apartment building in the same complex. From where I lay, I had a perfect view straight into the apartment directly across from us. Now, my cousin always went to bed early, but I was a night owl. I usually stayed up until around 5 a.m., and that's when I noticed something weird. Every single night, without fail, at exactly 4:02 a.m., the light in that apartment would turn on. Just one light in one specific room. And at exactly 4:05 a.m., it would turn off. Never earlier, never later. 3 minutes. Every single night. At first, I brushed it off, but it happened so consistently that I got curious. One night, I asked my cousin to stay up and watch it with me. Sure enough, 4:02, light turns on. 4:05 off. She was so creeped out, she told my aunt the next morning. We were all unsettled, but mostly curious. A few days later, we decided to visit the apartment and ask. A woman in her 40s opened the door. She looked kind and humble, but tired. She told us she was the daytime caregiver for the woman who lived there, an 80-something-year-old who had been completely paralyzed after a stroke. The old woman could only move her mouth and eyes. She had no husband, no children, no family. Just a small pension that barely covered this caregiver, who could only work from 6 a.m. to 11 p.m. because that old lady didn't have enough money to hire her to stay overnight. Which means, from 11 p.m. to 6 a.m., the old woman was completely alone. Then the caregiver said something that made all of us go silent. The old woman had a severe eye condition. She was extremely sensitive to light and had begged the caregiver to never turn on any lights in the house, especially not at night. But we had seen that living room light turn on at 4:02 a.m. every single night. And according to the caregiver, the old woman never even left her bedroom. After that, we kind of panicked. We just thanked her and left. I still can't explain it. The precision, the timing, the fact that it stopped happening immediately after the old woman passed away. To this day, we still talk about it. None of us can make sense of it. Was it a glitch? A ghost? Something else entirely? If anyone has ever heard of anything like this, please let me know. 8th story. My dog is too smart. My brother named her Bellatrix. He's a space fan, not a Potter fan. She's a Doberman, very healthy, well taken care of. She never bit anyone, never bothered neighbors, never ran off, never refused to take her medicine. We never even had to grind up the pills and mix it into the food. She would not give us any hassle at any point. She's very protective too. I'm the youngest, just finished high school, and she seems to be extra protective of me, but she kind of takes care of everybody in the house, parents and brother. We're both adopted. Bella has been with us for 6 years now. We got her when she could barely open her eyes, and I still remember how thrilled I was. I'm not sure how to feel about that now, though. I should give some context, or this might seem completely ridiculous, and maybe it still is. Bella isn't just a good dog, she's unnaturally good. When we take her for walks, she has never needed to be leashed. We realized it when my dad had mistakenly let go of her leash at the park while talking to someone he ran into, and there were plenty of other dogs around, but Bella just sat there the whole time. When my dad was done, and this is how he described it, Bella looked up at him and used her paw to push the leash towards his foot. She then tapped the leash with her toes 3 times. What kind of dog does that? It's bizarre. I didn't believe him when he said it, but she's done similar stuff a lot over the years. Bella can nod/shake her head to convey yes/no. It's so strange. She will shake her head or nod her head when we're choosing what music to listen to on road trips. Nods come with tail wags. She likes the song. And shakes come with small boof growls and moody looks. We've come to learn that Bella loves Queen, Boney M, Janis Joplin, and Greta Van Fleet, but she doesn't like virtually anything else. We don't tell anyone about this because we know nobody would buy it, but the whole family knows. Other examples. Once I was in my room with the door closed and listening to music on headphones. Bella was napping on the bed behind me. But she came up to me, tapped me on the knee with her foot to get my attention, and then motioned with her head toward my bedroom door. I took my headphones off. My mom was knocking to tell me dinner was ready. It seems harmless, but I've never seen any other dog be so human in their mannerisms. Bella never hops around, rolls around, scrambles, plays with her toys, bounces about when strangers arrive, or any of the other things you'll see dogs doing that are normal for dog behavior. She literally never does it. She runs a lot when we take her to the park, in perfect circles along the track. She never goes on the grass and never deviates from her circuit, and she'll move around the house to check on everyone or use the toilet. She does that. We never trained her to, but otherwise she sits still, quiet, and observant, watching everyone in the house. I legit think she also watches TV and understands what's going on, like she knows that the TV, it's images on a screen and not reality. I can't explain how I feel like she knows, but I can just tell. I've legit seen her crack a doggo smile, once while we were watching The Hangover. She never barks unnecessarily, never gets hostile, always understands what we're saying, and never does anything remotely dog-like. It's freaky, but we mostly found it fascinating. Here's where it wasn't fascinating. Some red flags that none of us caught on to because we were so amazed by her. Bella never displays any of her human-like skills in front of outsiders. Whenever people come over, she always goes into her napping mode where she lies down and looks tired. So when you try to get her to do anything uncanny, she never does. Not once has she ever showed off her ability to use the toilet, turn off the lights when leaving a room. How does she understand energy bills? She can play those games that they give chimpanzees to, with the little blocks and rings, or whatever, to test their intelligence. She can do it, but she almost seems bored by them. I swear to God, I saw her eyeing the chess set on my upper shelf in my room a few times. I refuse to believe she can play chess, and I refuse to find out. So she never shows off in front of others, and she never shows off in front of camera. This is extra freaky. Whenever I pull out my phone to record her, she becomes stiff like she's caught off guard, and then she just does generic dog stuff like tongue out, barking, tail wagging, scratching, sniffing, rolling around, groaning, etc. When the camera is off her, she's back to normal, her version of normal, but completely abnormal for dogs. I don't know how she knows what a camera is, phone or handheld camcorder, but she knows. We never gave her any training. Right now, as I type this, she's outside my bedroom door. I've locked it from the inside, but I can see her shadow from the crack under the door. She's just standing there. I know why. I can't come out. I can't even call the police because I adore her and I don't want to get her in trouble or euthanized, but I don't know what I'm supposed to do. I've been trying to calm down for almost an hour before I even started typing this. I was seeing this guy from school for a few weeks. We weren't official, just testing the waters. Guess I'm a bad judge of character because it turns out every time we've hooked up at his house, he recorded it. He had a discreet camera in his bedroom, and he had 4 or 5 videos, basically every time we did it so far. My parents are gone for the weekend, and my brother is out just for tonight for a work thing. He figured I'd be safe on my own since Bella was there. I decided to invite my ex-buddy over since he's always hosting me, so I should do it for once. He comes over, and we're talking in the kitchen about random stuff, right? And Bella, she's right there, literally right across the floor from us, sitting, not looking directly at us, but also not doing anything else. The guy, I'll call him Jeff, even commented a few times on how freakishly well behaved my dog is. And I was kind of freaked out too because she never displays her uncanny valley bullshit when other people are around. But she was doing it when he came over. And while we're talking, he decides to show me that he's been secretly recording me having sex with him. He has videos on his phone. He thought it was so cool, and I'd be flattered. What? I told him to delete those immediately and get out of my house. But he's outright refusing to delete them. He tells me it's his property, and he can do what he wants with it. And he started threatening me. He said if I broke up with him, we weren't even officially together, he would blur out his own face and post the videos on porn sites. To be honest, I don't think he would have actually done it, but the threat alone is disgusting enough. I didn't even have a chance to respond, though. Bella ripped off his fingers. She jumped across the room, no growling, no barking, totally unprovoked, and bit down on the hand he was holding his phone with and ripped 2 of his fingers clean off. I screamed, and he was losing it too. Blood everywhere. Still I haven't been able to go out and clean up. He starts to run for the door screaming that he's going to call the cops over my dog and have her put down. I have no idea how to react. I'm looking at Bella, who seems so completely calm and collected. Jeff's phone is on the floor, covered in blood. And this dog, Bella, she uses her paw to push the phone towards me. She looks at me and nods. And then she runs after Jeff out the door. I try to call her back, but I couldn't even speak at that moment. She ran out, ran after him, and I heard some scuffles, him yelling some more, and then his voice sort of choked like he was choking. He stopped yelling. I could only hear the choking because it was such a quiet night. We live in the suburbs, and not much goes down here. I managed to pick up the phone and walk over to the open door of the house and peek out. It's pretty dark out, around 10 p.m. I can see Bella standing in the middle of the road. I can see Jeff. He's curled up on the road. He's not moving. And there's a pool of blood around him getting bigger and bigger, rolling off the street and toward the drain. I saw this and almost passed out. I was terrified. And then Bella, standing perfectly still, turns her head and looks right at me. I lost it. I sprinted to my room and shut the door. Locked it. I didn't shut the main door, so Bella ran back inside. But I heard her close the main door. I heard the lock turn too. And now she's standing right outside my bedroom. My brother is coming home tomorrow afternoon, and my parents are coming the day after. There's blood all over my kitchen, and Jeff is dead on the street outside. Bella's knocking on my door with her paw. I can hear her toenails. Literal 3 knocks with intervals, just like how a human knocks. She's doing the low boof growl too, getting louder every time. She wants me to come out and clean up the mess so I don't get in trouble. But I have Jeff's phone. I deleted his videos, but his location is on. They're going to know he was here. What has this dog done? How do I get out of this? Edit. I went out and cleaned up the blood in the kitchen. Bella had already pulled out all the sanitation stuff we had from the bathroom sink cupboard while I was having a meltdown in my room. She probably would have done it herself, but she physically can't use a mop? I don't see what else could have stopped her. My beloved dog and best friend just committed murder, and I'm covering it up. Not how I wanted my home alone night to go. I tossed Jeff's phone in my front yard and wiped all my prints off it. When the police ask me why it's there, I'll just say, I don't know. I'm not going to walk out to his corpse and plant the phone on him now because the neighbors would see me. I just hope they didn't see her. I'm going to pretend I had no idea that there's a man dead on the street in front of my house. Let someone else call the cops. I tried to hug Bella, but she wouldn't let me. She kept ushering me to finish the cleanup. I also saw her smearing some of Jeff's blood with her paw and then looking at it. At her paw. I'll need to wash that off before she walks all over the house with it. It's happening again. I'm shaking again. Can't feel my fingers. My ankle hurts so much. Need to log this while I still can. I'm in my bedroom. It's late. It's 2:34 a.m. The whole house is lit. I went around turning every single light on because I'm terrified. Last time when I wrote about Bella, I had my bedroom door locked. She was waiting for me outside, knocking. This time I didn't bother. The door is cracked open and there's nobody there. Bella's gone. I can hear my family in the living room talking in low whispers with the police. They questioned me enough already. I needed some alone time to write this down. If you've read part 1, it's been 2 months since my dog Bella killed this guy I was hooking up with for recording us in bed without my permission and threatening to post it online. Never thought I'd be typing something like that. Never thought I'd make it 2 months since then. So, Bella had brought out the cleaning supplies, and she even brought me a mop in motion with her paw for me to clean up the blood on the kitchen floor. Jeff's body was outside on the road, and I couldn't hear any yelling, so nobody had seen him yet. It was a miracle. Dark, empty suburbs, yeah, but even a car should have come by at this point. I was mopping frantically. Bella saw me going at it and left. She went to my room. I didn't know for what, but later I found out she'd gone to grab Jeff's phone, which I'd carelessly left lying around in my bedroom trying to delete the videos, and she brought it to me, tapping on it with her paw, tapping on the bottle of Lysol. I got the message. Wipe your prints. When I did, she took it with her mouth back outside the house to Jeff's body, and she planted it on his corpse. Tucked it into his hoodie pocket and everything. I can't believe this dog. I can't. Even knowing everything I know about her. Knowing how smart she's always been. This was something else. But I cleaned up. I cleaned up well. My family came home after Jeff's body was found right outside our house. The cops tracked his movement through his phone and found that he was in the area when he died, but GPS isn't so sensitive that it could show him literally inside my house before his death. Clearly, since I told them about our relationship, they questioned me. A lot. What was he doing outside your house? When did you last speak? Why are there bite marks on his throat? What did your dog do to Jeff? Everyone vouched for Bella when that question eventually came around. She'd never hurt a fly. She had never even barked at anyone without good reason her whole life, let alone bite. And me, I saw what she'd done to Jeff. Tore his finger off, ripped his throat apart, left him to die, choking on his own blood. I didn't know I could lie to police so easily, but I did. Bella was with me inside the whole night. We watched Ant-Man and the Wasp together. I had no idea Jeff was even outside my house until the neighbors caused a commotion. Bella was sleeping on my lap. She was innocent. I hate myself now for lying then. I shouldn't have. I should have been braver. It's been a rough 2 months. Jeff's parents corner me in a grocery store and call me a whore who took away their only child. My own parents are distant because their little girl has an active sex life, and that's apparently too heretical for a 19-year-old. Yeah, focus on that, and not the fact that someone I know died and it might be affecting me. I'd never tell them Bella did it, but it would be nice to have a consoling hand. My brother was the only one who cared. I'll call him Red, his favorite color. He's the one who named Bella, and they both always had an understanding of some kind. He was the same with me, too. For a good few weeks, the three of us seemed like the only real family. But even Red didn't know what really happened with Jeff. His final decisions aside, he was a fun guy, and at least I thought, a good friend. I miss whoever that was he was pretending to be. Bella understood that too. She kept her distance from me, as though she knew I was uncomfortable around her. But wouldn't be. I still fed her, filled her water bowl, made sure she got what she needed, but something was off now. How could a dog do something like this? I should have told the police the truth. Should have told them to put Bella down. No, what am I thinking? Never. Never. Yesterday, I got a call from a detective handling Jeff's case. Susan, we'll go with Susan. She said she wanted me to come down to the station to discuss something urgent. I told her I can't because I broke my ankle last week trying to play soccer, which is true, and nobody was home to drive me down there, except Bella. Maybe she could drive too. I wouldn't put it past her. Susan said it's fine. She could come to our house to speak if I was cool with it. I said yes. I shouldn't have said yes. Why is this happening? Why couldn't Bella just be a normal dog? I don't need a genius dog. I don't need a super intelligent animal. I would have been happy with a normal, happy dog that barks and snarls and poops and pees and chews furniture and swallows stuff and wags her tail when she's happy. But Bella's none of that. Susan came over at around 6 p.m. I was thinking of checking my university application status when she knocked. She sat down. We exchanged basic small talk. How have you been? How's your leg? Blah, blah, blah. Bella was in the room, sitting right over on the kitchen floor, across the couch where Susan sat, facing her, sitting perfectly still and watching. I was sitting across from Susan with Bella in my peripheral to the right. I felt nervous, even though Bella had never done anything to hurt me. Quite the opposite. I was still nervous. Susan said she'll get to her point. There was something about my brother, Red, she wanted to ask me about. She came across this while looking into me because of my connection with Jeff. And not just Red, this was about Bella too. I was so confused. What did my brother have to do with Jeff's death? And they had no proof on Bella just because of the bite marks. I vouched for her. My whole family did. What Susan said next I still can't quite wrap my head around. Bella wasn't adopted from shelter like I was told. Red bought her from someone who's apparently been on the radar of the local police. I didn't believe it. What kind of bullshit was that? Why lie about it if she was purchased? Why tell me Bella was from shelter? And how is this even true? I didn't notice it then, but Bella had gotten to all fours. She wasn't sitting anymore. I don't think Susan noticed either. We were talking. I was very upset, confused. Bella's change in movement was so silent. Couldn't even hear her nails tap the linoleum floor of the kitchen when she moved. Susan said Bella was purchased by Red years ago when she was tiny. I don't know how they found this out or how they were legally investigating my brother at all, who wasn't even home when Jeff died. I had too many questions, but Susan didn't answer any of them. Said it's above her station and something about higher-ups getting involved. I was so confused. I still am. I have no answers. But Susan began to say how Bella isn't a regular dog. She brought it up casually, but she was eyeing Bella, who was staring right back. Susan had noticed over the course of 2 months, and she said it outright. Bella isn't normal. She's not natural. And I remember clearly Susan saying with something odd in her voice, "There's a reason for that. I never got to find out." We both heard it at once. Bella was growling, a vicious snarl, white fangs bared, face scrunched up with malice, head low and back hunched, saliva dripping from her open scowl. Bella, the quietest, most well-behaved dog I'd ever known, was growling at Susan, fully intent on pouncing. I remember trying to calm Bella down, but my broken ankle. I was sitting, my crutches were beside the couch. I couldn't just run over to her. Susan had gotten her feet too. I didn't see at the time, but she was probably already reaching for her gun. It all happened so fast. The lights died in a flash. Not just ours, every house in the neighborhood. Plunged into pure darkness. A power outage. Bella's growls grew louder and louder, and when the black shadows cut off my vision, and I could see nothing at all, and the lights in the kitchen and the living room inexplicably vanished, I heard her growling stop, and I heard her feet pounce across the floor. I screamed. Susan screamed. I screamed Bella's name, struggling to get to my goddamn feet. I heard barking, vicious barking, snarling, and screaming, and choking, and I fell back down, covering my ears when I heard the gunshot. Loudest thing I've ever heard in my life. The muzzle flash against the sudden darkness blinded me again. I couldn't hear or see anything for a while. I just remember saying Bella over and over, instinctively. Not sure why. Might have been a fear response. She was always my protector, always by my side, never let anyone hurt me. But I never wanted her to hurt others either. The power came back almost immediately. I saw the reddish haze of the ceiling lamp come back on through my eyelids. I opened my eyes, and I still can't really understand how this is happening to me. Susan's body was on the couch, her throat ripped open, her eyes open and glassy. There's so much blood. I threw up when I saw her. Not because it's gross, because I'm so terrified. Her uniform, her hair, blood on everything. Everything. The coffee table, the couch across her, my ankle cast that my friends all signed and drew dicks on. Blood everywhere. A gun in Susan's hand. And no sign of Bella. She ran. The front door was open. She ran away. She's gone. I couldn't do anything. I was frozen. I was crying. The neighbors heard the gunshot and called 911. Police showed up and saw Susan. And it all snowballed from there. Jeff's case got reopened. Bella got blamed for it, and I got blamed for hiding it. Red got home soon after the cops arrived, and he got taken in for questioning. Some people wearing black came and took him away. They weren't the police, but the police didn't stop them. Red didn't look at me before he left. I still need to know what Susan was trying to tell me. What was apparently worth her life to keep a secret? My parents turned on me when they came home a couple of hours later. How could I have lied to protect Bella? I couldn't believe them. How could I not lie to protect Bella? She's family too. She's my best friend, my protector, and I'm hers. She's made a mistake. She killed Susan even though Susan was no threat to me. She made a terrible mistake, but she's still family. I'm sure she had reasons. I'm going to get dragged into Jeff's murder hard. I should. I clean up the crime scene. But there's no cleaning this up. Bella knew that. Maybe that's why she left. There was no way to brush this under the rug. But I don't understand why she did it. I don't know what to do now. Bella's missing. She's out there somewhere. Bella, I know you'll never hear this, but I don't care where you came from or what you are. I still love you. Whatever you do, don't come home. They'll kill you. Ninth story. My dog spoke to me. I need to figure out how to protect him. I was drunk the first time I heard it. At least, that's what I told myself. It was just past midnight, and I was slouched on my couch, TV murmuring some late-night infomercial. Baxter, my golden retriever, lay curled up beside me, his tail thumping lazily against the cushions. "Good boy," I muttered, scratching behind his ears. "Good boy," a voice whispered back. I sat up, so fast my head spun. The house was quiet. The TV host droned on about non-stick pans. Baxter stretched, yawned, and settled back down. I stared at him. "Did you just—" My voice trailed off. He didn't react. I rubbed my face, loud and nervous laugh. Too much whiskey. Too little sleep. That had to be it. But then it happened again. And again. At first, it was simple, almost sweet. "Good boy. Love you. Sleep tight." A whispery echo of things I'd said to him before. Like a parrot. Then it got weird. "I'll watch you sleep." I try to laugh it off. Maybe I'd said that to him once as a joke, drunk or delirious. Maybe he was just repeating it back. Then one night, as I was locking up, he whispered, "You should lock the door." The hairs on my arms stood up. My hand froze over the deadbolt. The door was already locked. I turned to look at him. Baxter was lying by the stairs, staring at me, mouth closed. But I swear I still heard it, faint as a breath against my ear. "You should lock the door." I didn't sleep that night. I started testing it. "Baxter, what's 2 plus 2? I asked one morning, voice light, joking. He just wagged his tail. I chuckled. "All right, buddy. Say Baxter is the best dog." Nothing. Maybe I was losing it. That night, as I lay in bed, I felt him jump up, circle once, then settle at my feet. His warm breath puffed against my toes. I was drifting off when the whisper came again. "Don't turn around." A cold rush of adrenaline flooded my veins. My body stiffened. He was at my feet. His mouth wasn't near my ear. I swallowed hard. "Why?" I whispered. Silence. Slowly, I turned my head. Baxter was staring past me, eyes locked on something over my shoulder. Unblinking. I couldn't move. Couldn't breathe. The whisper came again, softer than ever, but clearer than before. Because it doesn't like to be seen. I shot up, flicked on the bedside lamp, heart hammering. Nothing was there. Just my empty room. Just my dog, staring. But this time his tail wasn't wagging. I didn't sleep. I left the lamp on, the TV humming in the background, anything to keep the silence from creeping in. Baxter stayed at the foot of my bed, curled up but rigid, ears twitching at sounds I couldn't hear. I kept telling myself I was imagining things, that he wasn't really whispering, that none of this was real. But then, around 3 a.m., he growled. Not the playful, throaty grumble he made when I scratched his belly. This was low, deep, a sound that didn't belong in his throat. And he wasn't looking at me. He was looking at the closet. A chill crawled up my spine. "Baxter," I whispered. "What is it?" His growl deepened, lips pulling back over his teeth. His body trembled, but he didn't move. The closet door was open. Just a crack. I was sure, so sure, that I had closed it. The whisper came again, but this time it wasn't soft. It was wet, sticking to the inside of my skull like breath against glass. "It knows you're awake." Something shifted behind the door. A rustle, the scrape of fabric against wood. "You should have locked the door." Baxter launched himself off the bed, snarling, charging the closet with more rage than I had ever seen in him. The door slammed open, and for one heart-stopping second I saw, no, I felt it, a shape, a wrongness, something not meant to be seen. Baxter yelped, then whimpered, then went silent. The air in the room pressed against me, thick and heavy, a presence curling around my lungs. My legs wouldn't move, wouldn't run, wouldn't. The closet door creaked shut. Click. And just like that, it was over. Baxter lay motionless on the floor, his body limp, breath coming in shallow, rapid pants. I scrambled to him, hands shaking as I ran them over his fur. "Baxter, buddy, are you okay?" What the hell was that? He didn't look at me, didn't react, didn't whisper. He was fine, physically at least. And by the morning, he was up and moving again. It's been weeks since then. Baxter still eats, still wags his tail, still follows me from room to room. But he's not the same. He won't go near the closet, won't even look at it. And at night, when he curls up at my feet, I swear I can feel him trembling, like he's listening to something I can't hear. I don't know what was in my closet. I don't know how he started talking to me. But I know he was doing it to keep me safe, and I know that if something ever comes out of the closet again, I'll do what I can to protect him. 10th story. The hot dog man. I was sitting next to a man, waiting for a train. He was eating a hot dog. He gave off a contented vibe, like an animal that had just caught its prey and was savoring its victory. I mean, he was even eating super loudly. It definitely added to that. He was slurping the hot dog up, but it seemed to last forever, an infinite hot dog, even though it was tiny. So disgusting. I looked over at him discreetly, in disgust, and subtly scrunched up my face in case he saw me and realized how gross he was eating. I looked at the hot dog, white bread and red-brown meat, with the bread sprayed over the meat and the sausage completely obliterated at the end. He lifted the hot dog up to his mouth, making a horrible smacking sound as his lips parted and chomped down while exhaling. I looked away in disgust, contemplated just leaving. My legs had tensed up several times since he had sat down with his gross hot dog, ready to jump up and leave, but my mind kept saying he'd finish the hot dog soon, and you'll be able to relax soon. How is it that the hot dog seemed so endless? He's been eating for 10 minutes already. Maybe he wasn't. I was just exaggerating. I so wanted to leave, but the effort. The train station was deserted. Why did he have to sit next to me? And he know why I left? I couldn't just hide. It was a straight flat station. To stand in the staircase would be weird. And what if he decided to stand up too and saw me hiding out in the staircase like an idiot? I looked at him again from the corner of my eye. A balding man, his leftover hair sticking straight up. A bloated face content with a sliver of a smug smile, greasy lips with food coating their corners, but a smug smile that seriously made me want to punch his face. You know how it is when people smile that way. It's not possible to be totally calm with no hint of violence. I clenched my teeth so hard that I unclenched them immediately for fear of breaking them, and snapped my head away. He was chewing with his mouth open, and the train wasn't coming. My mind was buzzing. I saw red, slammed my feet onto the ground as I stood up rapidly, and then shrunk back. That was too much anger. I could only imagine the man looking up at me with shock in his eyes and fear. I bowed my head a bit, mouthed sorry without turning to look at him, and left immediately, walking a bit further away from him. But that would be too obvious. I walked up to the end of the platform and peeked into the tunnel, as if looking for the train. I looked back at the man as I turned around to sit down on another bench. He had turned into some fat, slimy monster. His business suit had all but melted into his body, the pattern etched into the gross, discolored, gray, tan, soggy skin. If I had grabbed him, I'm sure I would have been able to rip off a bunch of his skin away without resistance. He was just as gross as his hot dog. I was fixated on that until he lifted that hot dog again to take a bite, slime dripping down onto his body that resembled sludge. I stared, mesmerized, but not feeling anything, maybe a bit of curiosity, up at his face, the shape of a turd. His teeth were glimmering, longer and much more than normal, and shining like precious gems out of the sludge. It was almost art. The complete opposition between the vomit-inducing pile of sag and bloated skin was it even skin and a shining, sparkling diamond straight out of a dentistry ad. I mean, it can make a good ad. The ad doesn't matter what you look like if you have good teeth. Part of me wanted to touch them. They were truly beautiful. I'm not a dentist. They were so beautiful I could have ignored the mess of his body. But I didn't, because he took another bite of his hot dog, and I snapped back my view to the train tracks, and the spell broke. There was no way this was real. I mean, I must have imagined it. And besides, if he was a monster, then wouldn't he try to eat me? I tried to make myself scared, but I couldn't. I mean, I think I would know if he was dangerous, right? My ego would tell me. It was like he was just an animal near me, a squirrel or something. I mean, he didn't even acknowledge me, didn't even glance at me, didn't care about my presence. I ventured another glance. His eyes were tiny black pinpricks, but I could just see the happiness in them. His never-ending hot dog. How is that possible? He has definitely been eating for 30 minutes. Where's the train? The tunnel was empty. That didn't make sense. I checked my watch. The seconds were ticking in reverse. I counted 27 seconds until the minute hand jumped forward, not backwards. This was so weird. It's not even that my watch is showing time going backwards. It's just going crazy. The sludge pile had left. A chill swept down my entire body. This is a bit like a horror movie. The thing disappears and then reappears behind you and kills you. I pressed myself against the wall as I reminded myself of that. But then, what if he came from inside the wall? I looked back and decided I'd stay at the wall. The train wasn't coming, and dread was filling every artery and vein in my body. And the train was coming. I heard its rumble from the tunnels. I didn't feel relief yet, not until I got onto that train. And everyone looked normal, just like the usual train. There was slime, and that sickening color dripping down from the seats where he had been. But no slimy footprints to show where he could have went. Maybe he did go into the wall, after all. And then I saw him again. Just appeared like that, this time back to his businessman form. With another hot dog. Went to his slimy seat and started scrubbing with the hot dog soaking in the slime rapidly. And just as the train was leaving the station, I caught a glimpse of him shoving the hot dog up his mouth. The soggy, dripping gray hot dog. I almost threw up, but I'm glad to say I didn't. I must have gone crazy because none of the commuters seemed disturbed at all. Anyways, I got back home without another incident and slept well, dreaming of hot dogs. But the good ones, not soggy, never-ending ones. Thanks a lot for watching this video till the end. Drop your suggestions in the comment section.